It wasn't a knock. It was a collision. A heavy, dull thud against the reinforced wood of the clinic door that shook the entire frame. "Doctor." Alan froze, his hand hovering over a tray of sterilized scalpels. It definitely wasn't a vehicle, and no human would pound on a door with that kind of slow, rhythmic desperation. He waited. Silence. Then, it happened again. A low, grinding impact, followed by the sound of something heavy sliding down the rough exterior wall. Alan didn't grab a weapon. He grabbed his medical bag. His gut told him this wasn't an attack. It was an arrival. But nothing could have prepared him for what he saw when he cracked that door open just an inch. Standing there, swaying like a drunkard in the fading light, was a massive lioness. But she wasn't looking at him with aggression. Her golden eyes were glazed over, swimming in pain. She was panting, her breath coming in ragged, shallow gasps that rattled deep in her chest. And then he saw it. Her front left leg was mangled, trapped in the vice-like grip of a rusted steel snare. The metal had bitten deep, cutting off circulation, the wound festering and raw. But that wasn't what made Alan's blood run cold. It was her belly. It was distended, tight, and dropping low. She was in active labor. This apex predator, a machine built for killing, had dragged herself miles through the bush, fighting agony and exhaustion, to find the only place that smelled of medicine and mercy. She didn't roar. She simply looked at Alan, then collapsed. Her legs gave out, and she hit the concrete porch with a bone-jarring thud. Alan shouted for his two assistants, Mark and Sarah, his voice cracking with urgency. They had seconds, maybe minutes, to make a decision that could get them all killed. You don't just treat a wild lioness. You definitely don't treat a wounded one. And you never, ever get close to one that is about to give birth. The maternal instinct alone could turn this clinic into a slaughterhouse. But the lioness didn't move. She just watched him. They dragged the heavy equipment onto the porch because there was no time to move her inside. Alan knelt beside her head, his hands shaking despite 20 years of veterinary experience. He could smell the infection, the iron tang of old blood, and the earthy scent of a creature that had been living on the edge of death. He needed to sedate her to remove the trap, but he couldn't use the standard dosage. Strong tranquilizers could stop the hearts of the unborn cubs or suppress their breathing when they came out. He had to use a local anesthetic and a mild sedative, just enough to take the edge off. It meant she would be awake. She would feel the pressure. She would be fully capable of snapping his neck if she panicked. He moved to her leg. The snare was a jagged, cruel thing, likely set by poachers weeks ago. The wire had embedded itself into the bone. As Alan reached for the wire cutters, the lioness flinched. A low, rumbling growl vibrated through the concrete floor, shaking Alan's knees. He froze. He didn't pull back. He looked her dead in the eye and spoke, his voice a low, steady hum. He told her he was there to help. He told her she was brave. It didn't matter what words he used. It was the tone she needed. Slowly, incredibly. She laid her head back down. She surrendered. Alan worked fast. The sound of metal snapping echoed like gunshots in the quiet clinic. He had to pry the jaws of the trap apart, his fingers slipping on the slick fur, when the final piece of wire came free. The relief was instant. The lioness let out a long, shuddering exhale, her entire body going limp as the constant. Blinding pain finally receded. But the victory was short-lived. A violent contraction rippled through her body. Her abdominal muscles seized, rock hard. She was too weak to push. She had spent every ounce of her energy getting here, dragging that trap. Now, she didn't have the strength to bring her cubs into the world. Alan checked her vitals. Her heart rate was erratic. If he didn't intervene, the cubs would suffocate in the birth canal, and the infection from her leg would send her into septic shock. He had to help her deliver. Manually, this is the part of the story that defies everything we know about wild animals. A wild lioness does not let a human touch her belly, but as Alan placed his hands on her abdomen to monitor the contractions, she didn't pull away. She leaned into his touch